Okay, so this one is the idiom out to lunch. And there's a lot of people that are not going to click on this video because they look at the title and they think that they know what it means. Oh, out to lunch, I know what that means, right? But this is the idiom, right? And it's just like I said in like like the video sick. I made a video sick talking about the idiomatic meaning of the word sick, and I said, and nobody clicked on it because they're like, "Oh, sick! I know that one. I don't need to. I know what sick means," and they think they know what it means by the title. That's the problem. That's why so many people, uh, you know, don't understand these idioms because they know they're too smart for their own good. Basically, they look at that and go, "I'm not going to waste my time with that because I learned that word in elementary school." But they don't know what it means. And even I made a video pointing people back to the video sick, and they were still too lazy to go look for it. So it's just you make your own bed, right? So anyway, so this one is out to lunch, out to lunch. And if you've ever talked to someone who's possibly senile. Uh, like I was behind this guy in Walmart, very sweet old man, but he was obviously out to lunch. We were talking to each other, and he was saying things that totally didn't make any sense. And if I were to talk to somebody about him later, I'd say he's a he's a sweet man, but I think he's out to lunch, unfortunately, which means that he's he's gone senile or he's got dementia, right? Joe Biden, believe it or not, he's the leader of the free world, but unfortunately, he's out to lunch. He's losing it. Okay, I don't think that's funny, and I think it's unfortunate, but it's an objective reality. But out to lunch has two meanings, and I'm going to talk about two meanings of out to lunch now. The first one is the one I'm going to talk about, which means sort of they've lost their mind, you know, and they're maybe mentally ill or in decline, mental decline. Okay, uh, it's kind of a rude term, you know. You're not going to if let's say if somebody's son has mental illness and you notice it, you're not going to use a phrase like this to describe your son. Say, well, your son is he's out to lunch. You know, you would not use this because this is kind of it's a rude term. You know, but it's kind of funny. You know. Anyway, Joe Biden is. We can't talk about the term out to lunch without talking about Joe Biden. Okay, now this is not Joe Biden. Yeah, maybe I'm out to lunch. Okay, I always have the wrong page set. Okay, listen to this. Joe Biden fumbles, describes America as a single word. All right, this is, watch this.
But we've got a little change in the arrangement. Who's on the stage because of the First Lady's husband?
Now, the First Lady, who he's talking about is Kamala Harris's uh, husband, uh, the vice president's husband. The First Lady's husband is him, right? But he said it wrong.
Contracting COVID, but
So,
look at this room and what you see. Pardon? That's right. She's fine. It's me. That's not the devil. The second lady, the first gentleman. How about that?
because I'm not sure how he actually should have said it, but he said it wrong. Okay, now watch this.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
whatever. Okay, he's out to lunch, unfortunately. Uh, Now, this is a sign that he's kind of out to lunch. This is a what they call a cheat sheet, right? You enter the Roosevelt room. You take your seat. Press enters. You give brief comments. So this is actually his sheet, that he apparently needs. Of course, this is made up by his political enemies, so it's exaggerated, right? And I think that Joe Biden makes a mistake sometimes because he will actually try to quote actual numbers. So we gave them $7.3 trillion, or we released 2.3 billion gallons of gasoline or something like that, and he says the exact number, and he always gets confused. Whereas Trump will say by a lot, a huge amount. He never says the exact numbers because he doesn't want to make a mistake. Okay, so anyway, let's go back. So that one, out to lunch, means kind of like lost your mind. Okay, out to lunch. Okay, temporarily. Well, no. Well, I guess this could be temporarily, but he's not in command of one's mental faculties. So it could be temporarily. Let's say in the case of a boxer who's been beaten up, he might be out to lunch. Strange or confused to know what is really happening. Now we're going to talk about another meaning.
For America. Maybe you should be Secretary of State instead of Blinken. And you guys, because it seems like we're just throttling into war in the Pacific, and Blinken's out to lunch.
Okay, Blinken's out to lunch. Let me put this on here. So they're talking about Anthony Blinken, all right, who's the Secretary of State, and he's focusing a lot on Ukraine, and obviously there's so much happening in the Taiwan, China area that needs to be paid attention to, and that's what this guy's talking about. I'm out to lunch here. All right. So he says,
Blinken, and you guys, because it seems like we're just throttling into war in the Pacific, and Blinken's out to lunch. I'll give you the last word.
okay, throttling into war in the Pacific, which he's talking about Taiwan. Okay.
Way around it. I mean, there's no way we finish this decade without China trying to do something about Taiwan. I think they would prefer.
This guy's a politician. I think he's a senator from Florida, Marco Rubio. And this guy's, I actually don't like this guy because of the way the noisy way that he speaks. He's like trying to make his voice really forceful or something. I don't know.
To do it without military, just have Taiwan surrender. But we should stop pretending that we're not headed towards something that we are. And I think it's important if they were to take Taiwan, it's just not just about the small little island off the coast of China. Okay, that gives them effective control.
This is actually kind of rare because these captions are not matching with the timing of what he's saying. It's a little bit behind.
For all of the Eastern Pacific. or the East Asia, 70% of global commerce. I mean, they could literally just shut us down. They can just cramp down and close down our economy like COVID times 50.
Yeah.
It would be a strategic, major moment in world history, and
Well,
not a good one for America.
Maybe you should be Secretary of State instead of Blinken, and you guys, because it seems like we're just throttling into war in the Pacific, and Blinken's out to lunch.
Okay, so he's saying that Anthony Blinken is out to lunch. But it doesn't mean that he's lost his mind in this case. It's a different one. It is inattentive, okay? So not in touch with the reality of the real world, crazy. That this is Joe Biden, okay? Maybe a little bit senile. I don't think Joe Biden's crazy, but you could say that about someone who has a, by the way, this is a sort of really offensive word. Be careful about using the word crazy because, you know, if somebody does have a problem and they're aware of it, you know, it's not cool to call them crazy. You would say mental illness, all right? But anyway, inattentive, that's Anthony Blinken. Okay, that's what they're talking about there. Okay, so out to lunch. So that guy's out to lunch, right? Could be used, number one, to being have lost their mind somehow, or it could mean inattentive, not paying attention. This guy's out to lunch, right? So, okay, I will talk to you on the next idiom.